G'day Ben, this is Chris Tolland and Jack Frost. We're calling from Workers Radio Australia in Sydney, and
Okay.
it's good to have you on the show. Thanks for joining us. We've got a lot of topics to cover today, and firstly we want to maybe touch upon the banking collapse, the wars in Iran and Syria, and maybe at the end Fukushima. But what's first and most important in the scheme of things for you at the moment?
Well, I think what we're seeing now is a collapse of the kind of control mechanism they had over how we think, which involved control of the creation of money, which is all really at the end of the day psychology, and control of the media. And this illusory mechanism they use to enslave us is falling apart. So this is very, very big stuff that's happening. It's truly historical.
In world history, you mean?
Oh yeah, I mean this is something I think ultimately, and I don't think I'm exaggerating, that when this is all over, historians will look at the changes we're going through as the biggest ones to hit civilization since the invention of agriculture.
So Ben, my name's Jack. I've just been following in your on your internet and the blogs and stuff like that. So there's a lot of people getting arrested. I've just seen you on your latest blog that Tim Geithner is arrested in New York. Is that right?
Well, he was. What I heard was he was detained on the 24th for questioning, and again, he apparently just blabbed and talked, and so much that they had to tell him to shut up at a certain point. But everybody's talking. I mean, all sorts of people are out there now talking, and the fingers are pointing towards the Bush family and certain people in, Italian families. So we're really getting to the very last sort of layer of control. The very top secret groups are being...
Is that the black nobility of Venice? And
Yes, like the family of three, the Medicis, the Borgias, because the British royals are already out there. The, Rockefellers and Rothschilds, everybody knows about them. Now the Rothschilds are saying, hey, it's not us, we're not at the top of this totem pole,
Yeah, someone told me on the radio this morning. We got a radio show in Sydney that the Queen's gone missing. No one knows where she is. I don't know what's going on with that. But you mentioned something about Prince Harry as well.
Okay, well, there's a group that contacted me that they call themselves the Gnostic Illuminati.
Right.
And they claim that they started the French, Russian, and American revolutions. And, they did come to me initially with 70 kilograms of marijuana laced with some kind of mind-destroying chemical, okay? And said, either you introduce the Yakuza or we'll kill you, which, if nothing else, it shows that they've got some serious sort of guts, if nothing else. I mean, I introduced them to a Japanese military intelligence guy pretending to be Yakuza, Although at the top, all these people are linked anyway,
Yakuza and the police is sort of a dual.
Like police, politicians, bankers, this is true worldwide.
70 kilos, that'd be like 6 suitcases, wouldn't it? Is
Yeah.
it hash? Is it hash packed in?
Oh, no, it was, they called it Thai stick, but it was chemically doped. And the stuff, I think they were trying to get me to destroy my mind. They're trying to get me to smoke the stuff, and their plan was to have me arrested as a drug dealer. And they said, oh, this great journalist, he started taking drugs, got crazy, now he's in jail,
Have you had a lot of death threats putting this out there, Ben?
I've had many actual murder attempts. The worst was when I went to Italy to visit the P2 Lodge, and they tried to poison me with something that caused my lungs to seize up.
Shit.
I came really close to dying that time. People approached me with devices aimed at stopping your heart, electric ones, and guns too, But
You've got a guardian.
I think I have some pretty serious protection.
Yeah,
but anyway, getting back to this group and Prince Harry, I mean, so I opened a dialogue with them, and I think we eventually came to agree that actually we're after the same thing. We wanted to, remove the control of the planet from a small inbred group of bloodlines in Europe, and give it to the people. And this group does have, serious presence in the UK intelligence establishment and police establishment. And they're the ones who are saying that they want Prince Harry because he's not part of that German bloodline, you know. And again,
Saxbergs. He's not.
Saxbergs. It's the Bowers who call themselves the Rothschilds. Apparently, I've just found out that Queen Victoria was actually the daughter of Nathaniel Rothschild.
Is that right?
Yeah, and then if you look at the European bloodlines, you know, at the time of World War II, the Kaiser, the Tsar in Russia, and the British royal family, and some minor ones like the Danish and Greeks, were all part of the same single family, operating on a secret agenda. And I guess the agenda was, you know, to crown themselves kings of the world. And they had to get rid of the Habsburgs, who weren't part of their group, and the Turkish government. You know, and then that was, you know, and then the ultimate aim, of course, the final obstacle for them was supposed to be China. But now it's falling apart. I mean, it's, you know, it's not going according to their long-term scenario. That's how I'm looking at it.
So do you think that Harry is not not the son of Charles? He looks like the James Hewitt.
Yeah, I think it's well known that the father is James Hewitt. I mean, there's plenty of evidence for that, and a simple genetic test would prove it.
And just photographic evidence. He looks like the son of James Hewitt.
Yeah. I mean, but you see, so they want it to restored to an original British bloodline.
Yeah, they're so inbred, aren't they? They must be nuts. With the Fukushima, I did an interview with Henry Macko talking about Jim Stone and what's going on with the Fukushima. That there was a nuke that was let off.
Okay. Well, I have plenty of evidence on this one. Let's kind of try to summarize it. Okay, one thing anybody can check. There's this housing company in northern Japan that makes discount housing, and their stock called Higashi Nihon House, okay? And their stock price shot up 40% on March 10th. That's one day before the tsunami and the nuclear thing. And you got to remember, Japan is a place with a shrinking population and about 3 million empty houses, you know? So it's hard to imagine why somebody would suddenly want to buy housing stock, you know?
Yeah.
But then we had a conversation on March 9th between Kurt Campbell, the Deputy Secretary of State in charge of Asia for the U.S. government, and Japanese power broker Ozawa, where he said, if you allow the Khan government to stay in power, we'll give you the rights to zeolite in Fukushima province. And zeolite is used to clean up nuclear waste, and that conversation took place on March 9th.
So who was part of that? Was that reported in mainstream media?
No, this is stuff from. I have sources. You know, this is from Japanese secret groups who had people in the room.
Oh wow!
When this conversation took place.
Okay. Ozawa and Campbell, they're getting their zeolite millions. Good.
Yeah, I can. If I was working for a major newspaper or something, I would tell my editor the exact name of the source and how to contact them for fact-checking purposes. You know. Yep. But that was another one. The other thing is that. A guy called Paul Lane from U.S. military intelligence and other people have confirmed that in the year 2000, when the Russian submarine Kursk sank, they actually stole 4 nuclear warheads, each of them worth 160 Hiroshimas.
Mm. So it's a Russian sub, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one of these bombs was smuggled in with those drugs, according to that Gnostic source, into Japan. And it was taken to Nakasone, former Prime Minister Yasuhiro Nakasone's property in Hinodemura in western Tokyo. And we warned the police. We said, hey, a nuclear bomb has been smuggled into Japan. It's located there. It was then taken to the North Korean Citizens Association group headquarters. And again, we told the police, and all they did was arrest one of us and try to get him to testify against me. They didn't do anything about this. Warned them. And then it was taken aboard the Chikyu Maru, which is a boat that can drill up to 10 kilometers into the seabed. And a group of 15 Japan Self-Defense Force people thought they were doing some kind of experiment. They put a series of nukes down deep into the mantle. And after the tsunami was triggered and they realized what they'd done, 14 of the 15 were killed. One of them was given shelter by a guy called Paolo Izumi, who runs a church in Tachikawa, a Christian group. And he got the man's testimony and put it out in a book form. and he's being sheltered. So we have a witness to the actual thing.
But presuming, is he a Western, or is he half Japanese, half Western, or?
He's Japanese, but he has a Christian church, you know.
Can that be read in English?
No.
Okay.
It's only in Japanese.
So
if
the main
somebody push him, he might put it out in English, you know.
That'd be great. The main issue I've got is that I've heard from various people that the sort of earthquake signatures, such as pre-shocks and other things, weren't obviously evident. There was just one big boom. And what it's called is a 9 on the Richter scale. That'd be enormous, and it's bigger than we've ever heard about, isn't it? 9 is just unfeasibly massive.
Yeah, I experienced it. I have an aquarium, a water tank with fish in it in front of my house, and 1/3 of the water sloshed out. Okay, that's to give you an idea of how much we were shaking around.
But can a nuclear device trigger an earthquake?
You know, I don't. If you do a LexisNexis search, you know, the newspaper database, costs a bit of money, but you'll find, for example, I think it's June 18th to 20th, 1975. You'll find articles in the New York Times and the Washington Post, etc., about a treaty between the Soviet Union and the United States not to attack each other with earthquake and weather weapons. But there was at least 20 articles in the corporate propaganda media about this, usually from the 70s. But, you know, this is before the internet, so you have to go to the paid database. Any professional journalist, you know, uses that database as a tool.
LexisNexis, is it?
Yeah. And it won't cost you much, but you can look up actual articles about these weapons in places like the New York Times, and that could help convince the skeptics who still think that these newspapers tell the truth, you know.
So it's an interesting one regarding Fukushima. There's a lot of I don't know how to put it, but if that was to have happened, what was the motive, and was it a blackmail threat, or was it?
Yeah, you see, what's happened is that the Japanese have stopped paying money to the financial cartel. So, for example, you remember there was a Japanese finance minister gave a slurred speech at a G20 meeting?
Yeah, I remember that one. It was on YouTube. I saw that.
It was Nakagawa. What happened was, you know, they were going to announce $100 billion for the IMF, right? And Nakagawa said, hey, well, you want $100 billion? I tell you what, we'll sell you $100 billion worth of U.S. treasuries, and you can use that.
Get rid of the junk bills that they don't need anymore.
And of course, in other words, saying, we're not going to forego any more money to you guys. And he was going to say that at a press conference, so they drugged him to prevent him from talking, you know.
Right. And
then he was murdered when he came back to Japan.
Jeez.
That's the kind of nasty people we're dealing with here, you know.
Right. So,
and the other thing is that you remember they had the Copenhagen summit about you know, carbon and all that in Denmark. They were supposed to have $100 billion to bribe the various world leaders there to agree to this new carbon world government tax. You know, instead they didn't have enough money even to pay for a proper event. You know, because again the Asians said, we're not going to pay any more money to you crooks.
Oh, that's what I was going to ask too, Ben. Someone was mentioning that the Federal Reserve Board, I think that they were reading one of your things, that the Chinese, that they've given over, the Federal Reserve Board is being
bought by the Chinese.
Yeah, bought by the Chinese.
Well, I mean, they're trying. Look, everybody is going to China and kissing ass these days. People who have the real money backed by actual physical trade and goods and services, you know.
Not just
along with the Japanese and the Russians, and to a lesser extent some of the oil exporting countries. And, you know, they're trying to say, hey, you know, we'll make you kings of the world. We'll give you everything, you know, work with us. And our side is trying to tell the Chinese, look, you can't trust these people. They've broken every promise they ever made all over the world. They have a trail of broken, you know, just ask the American Indians how many times they broke treaties before you think of dealing with these